So guys, welcome back to another video. This is another reaction to the world according to Briggs, and I reacted to a couple days ago the top 10 most hated states in the US, and decided to switch it up a little bit. This was posted yesterday, so it's a new video, and it's the top 10 most loved states in the US. And before I get into it, I just want to sort of let them know. I saw a few comments of people being like, don't let this change your sort of perspective on certain states, or make you view a certain state a certain way when you come here. That's not how it is. I'm just sort of watching these just to sort of learn people's opinions. I have no sort of affiliations or hatreds or whatever to any states or people from any states or whatever. It's just the reaction, really, just to sort of learn a bit. But yeah, I mean, you seem to enjoy the last one. It done pretty well, so I'm assuming there's an interest for this type of stuff. Maybe not, but we'll just have to see, right? But let's get into this. Quick shout out to my Instagram, my Twitter, links in the description for those interested in following. Instagram's closing out 7K, so I'd appreciate you helping me get to that. And save my Patreon, links are there for those interested. A lot of videos have been getting blocked on YouTube recently, so they've been getting posted to my Patreon. But yeah, for those interested in that, links are all there. We've just hit 300 Patrons, which is a crazy thing to do as well. I'm just blown away, man. I'm gonna be honest, it's nuts to me how there's so many people who are on the Patreon. But yeah, links are all there. Let's get into this. Hopefully going to enjoy. And yeah, man, just get into it. I said it like 10 times. Let's just get into it. I love that, mate. I just love to say it.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to World According to Briggs, and a second video in the Love or Hate the State series. Our last video was about the most hated states in the US. There was a survey, actually there was a few surveys, that asked Americans to list the 3 states they hated and then list the 3 states they loved. If you didn't see that first video, there's a link down below. Today we're looking at the other half of the survey, the most loved states. I went a step further and researched what reasons people gave for loving that state, or why they wanted to move there, things like that. And I also looked up what the population growth was in 2019 to sort of confirm that people love this state. You know, if they've got a whole bunch of people moving in, obviously people dig the state. If it's losing population, maybe not so much. Like I said in the last video, I will use the 2019 stats because last year's numbers, 2020, they don't paint an accurate picture of anything right now because of the pandemic. Everything was different, so we're just going to go by 2019 numbers. There are many reasons people love a state. I asked on this channel the other day for everyone to list what state they loved.
What states will be here? I feel like it's probably going to be some of the smaller states that haven't got the bigger cities, but I can't really think of certain states. Again, Maine's here. I don't know. I don't really know. Vermont, maybe. We'll see. We'll just have to see.
Why? I got all sorts of great answers.
Texas is there.
I grew up there. I vacationed there. My papa owned a farm there. One gentleman explained it was the state he moved to after he divorced his nutty wife. His words, not mine. He also went into an in-depth profanity-laced explanation on why they got a divorce that I don't think I'll add to this video. All right, let's see what the most loved states are. Number 10, Texas. The Lone Star State.
It's interesting because obviously California and New York's not necessarily a big state, but it's got a big city in it. And I just always assumed the states with really big cities are the ones that are just not going to be ranked as high. But obviously not with Texas. I mean, there's a lot of big cities here as well, but we're going to learn why.
Gives us our first surprise. Not that it's on the list, that it's not closer to number 1 or 2. It's very popular these days and a lot of people are moving there. Some of the people I moved there have complained about some things they're not used to. I mean, these are people from Southern California that moved there with Toyota. So the bugs and stuff like that, they don't dig, and they say it gets sweltering heat in the summer. But other than that, I mean, this is a great state. A lot of good things are going on here.
Pretty cool.
And people seem to...
Are they just like cowboy boots? Like a statue. That is
love
sick.
it. It is in the top 10 of most loved states. The reason people give for moving here or loving this state is opportunity, real estate prices, and gun laws. Yeah, that's a big one for people in Texas. Gun laws. 29% of the people surveyed had Texas in its top 3. They had a population growth in 2019 of 3.9%.
3.9.
Number 9, Georgia. The Peach State is another state that's gained popularity in the last few decades.
Atlanta is booming, isn't it? It's like the fastest growing city, so I guess that's a big sort of factor in it. But Georgia as a whole, I guess, is also just doing very, very well.
I love Georgia. You'd think I'd hate it because it's where I did basic training in the Army. I attended Ranger School in Georgia, tore my Achilles tendon in Georgia, been knocked out twice in Georgia, broke 2 fingers in Georgia, and got a horrible rash. But I still love the state. The Southern hospitality is a big reason people fall in love with Georgia, and the low-cost living is why they move there. Actually, when asked, low-cost living, good housing prices, and they love Georgia are reasons people say they move there. Georgia had a population growth in 2019 of 3%, and 31% of the people surveyed had Georgia in their top 3. Number 8, Maine. If you ever visit Maine, you'll notice the first day why people fall in love with the pine tree state. The landscapes are amazing. They have a very appealing, slower pace. It's kind of interesting. Sort of like you have this vibe and
it does look beautiful, to be fair. Look at that. You got the sort of the buildings that just look beautiful themselves. You got sort of the background there, the river, the lake, got the forests, got the sky.
California of a laid-back thing. Well, you just have this vibe in Maine. It's just, I wouldn't say carefree. It's hard to really explain. But the vibe I always got were that people are just happy to be there. Happy to be there, and they're not going to really get upset about much. It's really strange. I love Maine. The population growth in 2019 was 1.16%, which is strange because they have an older population. And normally when you have an older population, you don't have growth in your state, but they do. They're pulling it off. 36% of the people surveyed had Maine in their top 3.
Wow.
Number 7, Arizona. The Copper State or
Arizona.
Grand Canyon State is a strange.
I just thought it wouldn't be that high because it's so hot there. To set like certain points of the year, you just hate it. But I guess there's other reasons to love it, right? And maybe people are just so used to it. But I get a lot of comments of people saying, "Ah, God, where I'm from," and usually it's like Arizona or New Mexico. The weather here is just too hot. I see you complaining about your weather. Here it's, I would do anything for a bit of rain kind of thing.
They were not too far out of the top 10 most hated states, and here they are at one of the most loved states.
Oh, wow.
Arizona and another state on this list are kind of strange that way. It's like people love them or they hate them. There's not much in between. Most people stated that they loved Arizona because of the desert heat and weather, low-cost living, cheap real estate, and lenient gun laws again. Arizona they're pretty lenient when it comes to their guns. I think Alaska is another really big one where that one you kind of need it, especially if you live out in the woods. But Arizona, they're pretty lenient with their laws there. Arizona's population grew by about 5% in 2019. 36% of the people surveyed said Arizona is one of the top 3 states they love. Number 6, Florida. The Sunshine State shows up at number 6. Florida is one of those states that wasn't too far out of the most hated, as well as here they are in the most loved states. Florida is really 2 different states when it comes to people. The coastal people that love the state, and depending on which city you look at, they will be younger with some money or retired with some money. Then you go inland and you find rednecks that still believe the Civil War is undecided. One thing all those types have in common, they love the state of Florida. People in cold states like New York, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, they all dream about living in Florida. And that's why 37% of the people surveyed had Florida in their top 3. And in 2019, they had a population growth of 3.31%.
Wow. It's interesting because I would just find Florida like it's a beautiful place, but like the possibilities of like huge tornadoes or just some weather sort of hurricanes or cyclones, just the possibilities of that happening in Florida are so high at certain points of the year. I'd kind of just be put off of living there, but at the same time, maybe the protections are there like in place, so it is actually quite safe to live through, and you get all the sunshine and the beautiful weather for the rest of the year. But I guess it's just people are used to it, aren't
Number 5, North Carolina. The Tar Heel State has always grown in population. The 2020 census is the only of 3 census since 1780 that North Carolina had less than 10% growth. A lot of that growth comes from the fact that people from the state stay in the state. North Carolina is 3rd when it comes to born and raised, never leaving the state. That's just proof that this is a very much loved state. In 2019, they had 3.08% growth, and 39% of the people surveyed had North Carolina in their top 3. Number 4, Nevada. If you don't mind the desert...
Again, I thought the the desert states would just be lower because it's just so hot. But again, maybe it's just one of those things, like he said, you either love it or you hate
The
it.
heat, the open land, Nevada is a great place. They have low cost of living, gambling, low housing costs, gambling, tons of stuff to do, including gambling. Now, the reason I said gambling 3 times is from experience. Anytime I've ever mentioned gambling when talking about Nevada or Las Vegas, the locals totally lose it and leave comments about, that's not all Nevada is. There's so much more to Nevada. You don't know because you're not from here. I get it all the time. My answer to that is always the same thing. If you don't want people to think that all Nevada is gambling, tell the state and the casinos to stop running ads non-stop promoting gambling and casinos. And while you're asking people for things that'll never happen, could you ask Dana White for some floor seats for the next UFC event in Vegas? I'd really like some. The way the people of Nevada defend the state is proof that it is much loved, is the point I'm getting at. Nevada saw a population...
Low humidity, to be fair, I mean, that is a very big W. Humidity can make or break the weather, really, man. It could be hot, but the humidity could be low, and it's just like perfect.
Growth of 5.2% in 2019, and 41% of the people surveyed listed Nevada as one of their 3 most loved states. Number 3, Virginia. Virginia's
I just realised my webcam is a bit all over the shop.
another state that started to attract a lot of people, kind of like Texas has. Most of the people showing up on Virginia's doorstep are younger professionals, and they love Virginia. A lot of them stay there the rest of their lives, or at least so far. Virginia has a lot of history and a lot of people that were born and raised and never move out of the state because this is just what they love. They love this state. A lot of people consider Virginia as the most appealing or successful southern state. A lot of people that want to stay in the South, that are from the South, always kind of look at Virginia as where you move when you've been successful or you make good money, something like that. In 2019, Virginia had a population growth of 1.22%, and 41% of the people surveyed had Virginia as one of their 3 most loved states. Number 2, Colorado. The Centennial
For this one, it's going to be the mountains, right? It has
State
to be.
won the unofficial poll on my channel. When I asked it in the community tab, Colorado was the most popular. If you love the outdoors and kind of that laid-back feel, this is probably the best one. Maine is sort of like that, but it's a little bit different. It's like an older crowd, I guess you could say. Colorado is a little bit younger, and people that like mountain biking, hiking, camping, things like that. That's what Colorado is all about. A lot of people that serve in the military, both Air Force and the Army, fall in love with Colorado and never leave. A lot of retirees from the military stay in Colorado. Myself, I almost moved to Colorado. When I left California, it was going to be Oregon or Colorado, and we were on the fence for a long time. I thought this was a weird stat. They had a pretty good boost in population growth in 2012 and 2013 after they legalized a certain plant. And those same years, pizza delivery orders skyrocketed. Not even kidding. Peyton Manning has owned some Papa John franchises in Colorado. And when that happened, he said their business just went through the roof. In 2019, Colorado's population grew by 3.56%. And of the people surveyed, 48% had Colorado as one of the 3 states they love. Before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link down below. Go check it out. Subscribe. Something like that. All right, on to number 1.
What is it going to be?
And number 1.
Hawaii. Fair point. Fair. I wasn't even thinking of Hawaii, to be honest. And now it's been mentioned, it makes complete sense.
The Pineapple State comes in as the number 1 most loved state in the United States. And before you make that comment, I know it's not the Pineapple State. It is the Aloha State. Everybody dreams about living on a tropical island, and that is one of the big reasons this is a very loved state. Also, people go on vacation there. When you're on vacation on a tropical island, it's really hard not to fall in love with the place. Beautiful beaches, beautiful people, beautiful land, occasional volcano blowing up. What's not to love? Hawaii is the only state on this list that had a negative in population growth in 2019, and that's only because the state is so frickin' expensive. It is. It's terribly expensive, both housing and just regular cost living everyday things. It is expensive. 2019, Hawaii lost 1% of their population. Most common answer given when people are asked why they love Hawaii: because it's Hawaii. That's all they say. It's because it's Hawaii. It's a tropical island. Who doesn't want to live there? Besides redheads that can't afford sunblock. 56% of the people surveyed had Hawaii as one of their 3 most loved states.
God damn. Is that the video over?
I did hope you got some information out of it.
I really enjoy these sort of love or hate videos on states. Again, I know it's not that deep. I don't take it in and just change my views on certain things, but it's just interesting to see what makes people love certain places and what makes people hate certain places. And what I've learned is cost of living, politics, weather. Sometimes it's too hot, sometimes it's too cold, and just like things like that really. But yeah, man, it was an interesting 2 videos for sure. I love Hawaii. Maui is so laid back. I can't actually say that. It's so laid back, beautiful. Been there several times. I would love to go to Hawaii. Definitely a place that I would love to go to. Boy, Georgia was unkind to Briggs. I've lived in Hawaii for 20 years now. It's not perfect, but it's close. Before Hawaii, I lived in Monterey, Bay Area of California. I can attest Hawaii's much cheaper than almost any coastal area of California. Those stats are pretty consistent with my opinion. They must be correct. We came a long way. We came close to moving Colorado too. Yeah, Colorado. I was actually going to say Colorado as like a guess at the start of the video, but I didn't know if it would be a stupid one or not. But obviously it wasn't. And I mean, yeah, hopefully you enjoy this one. I think this is the 3rd video today, so I mean, yeah, if you want more reactions like this, suggest what you want to see in future. But yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, peace.